This call is being recorded.
Sweet. All right, folks. So we have a great episode here today on the Josh Sandlin podcast. I got Kim Wack from the Phoenix area on the phone with us here today to talk about a couple of things, actually. One is she's manufacturing a product, and I'm very interested in how people actually go through the mechanics of actually getting a product to market. I think that's very, very interesting. Secondly, Kim also has a YouTube channel which she just started, which is called Project Ripcord, which you can find on YouTube, and you should subscribe as well. So, Kim, welcome to the Josh Sandlin podcast. I'm very excited for you to be here, man.
Hi, Josh. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, just tell us a little bit about Kim first and foremost, and we'll just go. You're a little bit of your background of who you are, and we'll just take it from there if that's okay.
Yeah, so Josh and I were talking a little bit beforehand. So I'm originally from New Jersey, and then I moved to Minnesota for 10 years, and I went from Minnesota to Phoenix. So there's a big climate change for you. And I've been in Phoenix now for 12 years, and I have worked in corporate America for 32 years. I got my degree at night, so I am 50, but I already have 32 years in, so I think I ought to be able to automatic tap out, right? That's my theory. So I have been with the same company here since I moved here 12 years ago, and I love Phoenix, and I'm an avid mountain biker, and I have 3 dogs and no children. So
you're an avid mountain biker, which led you to create a product. It seems like to me. So, I'm just going off basically from what I could tell from your YouTube channel, our brief emails and interactions. But what happened? I mean, how did that come to fruition? That's actually pretty cool.
So I think maybe some people have thought about this before too. I mean, we spend so much time in our day jobs and putting so much energy to that, right? So I got thinking about, like, what if I spent some of that energy on myself on something I wanted to do?
Yeah.
And if I had done this 30 years ago, where might we be now? And I think, Josh, you're doing the same thing right now, right? Instead of giving it to your crappy old job, you're putting your energies into something that you love for yourself and building that.
Right.
So that's exactly what I got thinking about. And not that I have job satisfaction, but yeah, it kind of gets boring after a while. I've been there for 12 years, and it's the same thing. I mean, I do insurance accounting, so that'll put everybody to sleep right away. But after a while, it's the same months, they're like the same thing and everything. So anyway, I ended up picking up the book 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
I always thought there should be a better way.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss. I always thought there should be a better way than I sit in commuter traffic and I look around and I think sometimes we're all idiots. But so I picked up that book, and that is what kind of motivated me to think about something that, like, what he basically says, find a muse that you would find interesting and that you would be passionate about or something to do. So I figured, okay, well, I read the book. I actually wish I still had the book. I lent it to a friend, but I had all these pages earmarked in it because it's really a very good reference material. It's not just an entertaining read. He's got a lot of really good information in there. And so I kind of took that to heart. And then I got thinking about, like, well, what is it that I would like to do? Like, what would my product be? Right. And it's kind of a hard question to ask yourself.
Yeah. Right.
And then I thought, well, I really like cycling, and with chamois creams, what chamois creams are, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a cream that you put, on the inside of your bike tights on that pad, so that it's an anti-chafing cream. So that's what that is. And there's not a whole lot of competition in the market. And I originally thought I would do a male and a female version, and basically the difference of those two would be scent. So that was my initial thought, and that's what got me rolling, is really Tim Ferriss's book.
What's the website for the product, first and foremost?
It's chappedasscycling.com.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Chappeddasscycling.com. I'll put a link to the show note. And so you're just sitting there one day and you're like, man, you read Tim Ferriss's book. you're sitting in a crappy old commute, and you're like, there's got to be a better way. And you're just thinking and thinking and thinking. And say, a product for bikers to deal with chafing. That's what came out to you.
That's what came out to me.
How long ago was that? Like 5 years, 5 months? When did that?
Oh, no, I just did this in 2017.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it was like fall of 2017 when I started reading the books, and that's when I kind of came up with it. So fall of 2017 is when I started kind of researching manufacturers and trying to figure out, well, how do you do this? Because I figured if nothing else, I would, it's educational. Like, how do people do this, right? Without, stirring up a product in my kitchen, because obviously I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So that's kind of where it went.
Yeah. Okay, so and I guess you also found a need that there like you said, there's a limited market for that product out there, or at least a limited that you could see that said, hey, there's you're an avid rider. This is an issue that you had to contend with for your own capacity, and then you said, and there's just not much out there that you're competing with. Was your thought? Yeah,
there's not a lot of competition. There's the most popular product is called chamois butter, and it's cheaper, obviously, but it's also the ingredients that they use in it aren't all that great. But it is the most popular product out there. So we thought, well, chamois butter's out there, and that's the one that's big. And there's a few smaller companies that have done this, but again, it's not like trying to create a lipstick where there's thousands and thousands of them out there.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a much smaller niche market.
Well, how did you get come up with the ingredients? Like, you have chemistry?
Okay.
I mean, how did you? Yeah.
Right. All good questions. So what I did is we did have a chamois cream that we liked, and it wasn't chamois butter. So I looked at the ingredients on that and said, okay, well, I like this, but I would also like to add this, and this, right? I'd have to look at my product sheet because I don't remember what it was offhand, but I think I was like, okay, well, I also want coconut oil in it, shea butter, and I don't want any petroleum in it, so I kind of did that. So when I finally found a manufacturer, I basically sent them that and said, here's what I want, but I don't want this, and I want this, and this. Okay.
And so they said, okay, like, no big deal.
Sure. Yeah, they and like I said, what I originally wanted to do, and this might be getting a little ahead of myself, I really wanted a male version, a female version, and would have been based on scent. But when you go to a manufacturer with something like that, they do it in vats. So that would literally have been 2 orders.
Right.
Right? And I went, okay, well, I don't want to put that much money into this right from the beginning. So I thought, well, let me do, let's pick a neutral scent like vanilla. And that's kind of what we went with. However, because there's witch hazel in this, the first test sample we got, and you'll remember this because we're like the same age. Remember Noxzema?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it smelled like. And I was like, okay, no, this isn't. It was really strong, like Noxzema smell. And I went back and I said, no, I really am hoping to have a little more of the vanilla scent in it. So, we went through a couple test samples before we settled on the final product.
So how do you're sitting in your car and you're like, you're coming up with, this is an idea you want to do, you know what I'm saying? And so how do you actually, it's in your head, and now it's not in your head, it's an actual real life product. How does that happen, Kim? I mean, I'm just curious about the details. You're like, all right, this is a pretty good idea I have. I want to go pursue this. And how do you make it work where you contact a manufacturer, you're doing, just tell us the process of that, if you would.
Yeah. So I like I said, Tim Ferriss's book has some good reference things for like lists of manufacturers and things of that sort to look up. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a great reference book. It's not just a happy read.
Right.
So I started there, and then I, Googled, because I needed more of a cream manufacturer, because it is more considered a, like a face cream manufacturer. It's kind of, it's along that lines, right? It's not like if you were to create a new tire, you'd go to a rubber manufacturer, right? I needed to find kind of almost a cosmetic manufacturer. So I think I ended up with about 3 of them, and I just called them. I literally just called them and said, hey, I'm interested in having you guys manufacture a product. And what I had to find out was, what's your minimum size that you'll produce?
Right.
Because I didn't want to get, so the one I called in New York, theirs was their minimum, because we did 4-ounce jars. Their minimum of 4-ounce jars was 10,000 units. And I said, okay, no. Like, they were high volume. Yeah. And I didn't want to go high volume with an initial product.
Right.
So I called around. So I ended up calling a place in Florida called Pure Source. Okay. And they would do, on 4-ounce bottles, it ended up being roughly 1,200 units, right? Okay. So I said, okay, great. I'll go with them. I Googled them. I read their reviews. I, made sure that they were, a good manufacturing company. And that's what I went with. So I ended up picking Pure Source because they were really good to talk with on the phone, because, you get them on the phone and you say, this is what I think about what I'm thinking of doing. And then they'll tell you, their minimum based on what I'm looking at. And they were just kind of really easy to work with right from the beginning. And I have like one main contact there that, when I was going through this process, was mainly my point person that I would talk to. So they would listen. Okay, here's what I want. They send you over a spec sheet, and says, okay, here's the ingredients. What else do you want? What don't you want? Josh, I see you've got this up, and you can see chamois butter, the original, right there, right?
Yeah.
the purple tube. Yeah. So that's the very popular one that people tend to buy. So anyway, and I would send the sheet back into him, and then if he had any questions, and then based on that, they create a test sample.
Okay.
And then they'll send you the test sample.
Yeah, go ahead. So they create the test sample without doing the whole vat thing. I mean, they can just do a small sample for it, and they send it to you to see if that meets your approval, so to speak?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. And how many? What do you do? You say, like you said, no, I don't want Noxema. I want it to be more coconut or something like that. And they said, okay, they'll come back and do it again.
Yep. That's exactly it. So it took them, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks to get a sample, and they FedEx it to you. And I think they ended up sending 3 2-ounce jars. So enough that, you could literally use it too. So we took those 2-ounce jars, even though we didn't like the smell of it, and gave it to a couple of friends and said, hey, try this. And seriously, let us know what you think. Like, don't lie to us.
Right.
Don't lie to us. And the first one they sent was just really super strong. So I just went back and said, hey, we like the texture, right? Because, I let them know what the texture was I wanted, something like thick, creamy, not watery creamy, so it was all that stuff. It was like, this is the texture we're looking for. This is what we want. So the texture and everything was fine. It was literally the scent on the first round. So we just sent it back and said, hey, I don't really smell the vanilla. Can you do that again? This is really strong. And they said, sure. So then after another 2 weeks or whatever it was, they sent me another sample. And then with that next sample, we were happy with it.
So now, the first guy in New York wanted 10,000 units, and this guy said, what did you say, 1,800?
1,200.
So do you have like 1,200 in your, I know there's no basements in Phoenix, but in some storage bin in Phoenix, an air-conditioned storage bin or something like that? Or
I have 1,200 jars sitting right next to me, Josh.
Okay.
So they literally, once you order the product, they literally ship you boxes of it wherever you wanted it. Like, say if I wanted it to go somewhere else, they would send it there, but they shipped them right to the house, and so I have the product right here. And that was one. Go ahead.
How much does it cost for those units?
Okay, so that's the price was not bad. I think when I broke it down to so for them to manufacture those units, it was about $5,000.
Okay.
So, and then then we had to get jars.
Okay.
And I don't think the jars were very much. I actually wanted a tube, but they didn't have tubes. So then I would have had to gone to order from China to get a bunch of them and then ship them to them, and then they would fill the tubes. And it ended up being I couldn't get the right quantity, or something happened when I was researching for the tubes. So I ended up working with them, and I think that their jars were less. I think they were like 50 cents a jar they charged me.
They being the manufacturer, or did you have to get the jars from another place?
No, the manufacturer. I used jars that they had on hand, and that's the other thing. They sent me test jars because they sent this. As you can see, we went with more of a rounded jar, but they had a square jar. They had different shaped jars, and he would send me pictures, and we went with more of the rounded shaped jar. So we had them do that to fill, and then the other piece of this is the label creation, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. I was wondering about that too.
So
exactly.
That I had to get a graphic designer.
Okay.
So we had an idea what we wanted our little mascot to look like. As you can see, we were playing off the chapped ass being a donkey.
Yeah, right.
Right. So that's why there's the donkey on our label. So we had more of a fun looking little donkey, but when I found a graphic designer here in Phoenix, and she was really great, and she has a lot of experience doing product design, and we met with her with our idea, and she said, okay, it's fine, and then she did a few markups of ours, and then she did some of her, what in her mind came to be the product, so that would look good. And we loved the one that she came up with the snort, and a little meaner look than we had originally thought. And so we went with that. So she designed it, and then we had to get the product list from the manufacturer so she could put the product list on the label. So there was a little bit of organization going on between the manufacturer and the graphic designer. And then once the design was right, she actually had to send to the manufacturer the actual die cut specs. And then they take that die cut spec, they create the labels and label the jar, and then you can't see it on the website, but it's all plastic wrap too. So it's sealed. It's sealed really well, like very professionally. So it's kind of coordinating those two. So the graphic designer probably cost us, I must say, $700 by the time she designed and did all that kind of stuff. So I think at the end of the day, we can see we're selling the product for $16.95. I think I have wrapped up when we first got the product. I think I estimated it out to be like $5.80 a product to create.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. So, so that's kind of how that worked out.
So when someone orders it, they're
parts.
literally ordering it from you. You're literally shipping it.
I'm literally shipping it. I have them sitting here. We box and we ship.
Now I'm curious. So when the lady who did the graphic design, she created that label that looks like it fits around in the circular bottle, but she just gave that to the manufacturer. The manufacturers they took the white the bottle, and they added the label to it, and then they dumped all the product inside. So the manufacturer did all that. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and then they shipped you a whole crap load of boxes that you have sitting right there in your inventory house, so to speak.
In my inventory house, correct.
All right, so you have a graphic designer. She does obviously the graphic design. I get that. And then now on your cart, not the cart, the bottle, you said it's like a plastic, like a thing that goes on top of it on the label. Is the label actually put on the bottle that makes sense what I'm saying? Do they like,
Yeah,
it's almost like
no, the
tattooed
label
on the bottle? Yeah, go ahead.
The label is, it's like a sticker on the bottle. So the label is literally on the jar, and then the packaging then the jar has, like, once you unscrew it, there's also like that little plastic cover so that you have to peel that up to get to the product. And then the outside of the jar is also wrapped in plastic, in a clear plastic.
Okay.
So I was actually really impressed with this manufacturer of when I got the final, because I didn't know what it was going to come to me as, right? Final. I knew what it was going to look like, but I didn't know how they were going to have it sealed. So I was really impressed with the final product that came so sealed up. It was great. And it took about, once we agreed with all this and got them the graphic design label over, it took them probably 8 weeks to get it all done. So there was, so by the time we got it, I think it was March of 2018 that we finally got the product in hand.
And so by the time you're sitting in your commute and it's in your head, Kim, until you actually get the shipment of all those boxes, how long did that take, front to center, front to back?
Probably 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Did you have to get any kind of, I don't know, like copyright or any, I mean, I don't see it on your label here. Did you have to get like, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what you get. Did you have to get something like for the feds to approve it or anything like that, or?
No.
Okay.
No. We didn't have to do any of that. You will see I did, obviously set up Chapped Ass Cycling as a limited liability company. So I did set up a little limited liability company for the product to be under. Yep.
But you didn't have to get any approval from the government or anything like that. You just said, hey,
no,
you got the manufacturer, okay, and you just cut the manufacturer a check for basically, let's say $5,000, and then 6 months later you get a box. Okay, gotcha. That's pretty interesting. Yep. So you've got this product in hand in March of 2018. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so now it's July or January of 2019. How's things shaking out so far?
So that's the downside of it.
Yeah.
So
I bet.
This is where, it's like I said, if I learned anything, it was the marketing needed more thought, right? Because I figured I designed the web page through Shopify, and then we put it, we have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, and I just assumed like, oh, okay, well, I got a Facebook page, I got Instagram, and I think I did Google AdWords, and once we get word out there, this stuff's gonna fly off the shelf. It hasn't. So I think it was April or May, I reached out to a marketing firm and talked with them. And so what the marketing firm does is they create campaigns, which are basically contests that you run on, Facebook and Instagram, and it gets people to sign up and give you email addresses and all that kind of stuff. And so I ran 2 campaigns, but and with that, you're like, so the first campaign, the contest was whoever won, and that was with the most shares and stuff like that. We gave away a bike saddle seat, and obviously a jar-free chamois lube. And then the second one we did sunglasses. And out of that, I may have collected maybe 50 emails. So unfortunately, the campaign didn't go as well as I had hoped.
Right.
And it was really expensive. It was as much as the product.
Whoa, are you kidding me?
No. And honestly, Josh, if I wish now that I had put that money into more Facebook advertising, and because I think that is much better than for me than what I did.
Right.
So, and my rationale when I finally said, okay, let me go with this marketing group and let's do this was, I'm dumping another $5,000 into this. Okay, let's call it I break even. If I break even and get my money back at this point, I'm happy.
Right.
And that didn't obviously pan out. So that's a huge lesson learned for me. One was, to put some thought into how you're going to market it and where you're going to put your money to market it. Because for us, and I'm sure this company does well for other companies, it just didn't work well for us. I kind of wish I didn't do that, and I had dumped a lot more money into Facebook advertising, because I think Facebook can reach so many people.
Are you still doing any Facebook ads, or are you doing Facebook ads right now?
I haven't right now. I've been running Google ads. So Google,
Okay.
Right now it's been mostly Google ads. We are on Facebook, and I'll put stuff out there. Occasionally I will still run a Facebook ad, and it helps because it gets traffic, it gets more people on the page. And like I said, I think that would have been so much better to do than the route that I went. And that's just me personally.
Well, when I typed in chamois, how do you say chamois? Is that how you say it?
Chamois. It's just chamois.
Chamois cream. I mean, I see and you can see it, but the first thing that came up was obviously the chamois butter, and then yours came up second on Google. That's pretty good. I mean, that's not. I mean, that's that's what you want to see. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah. So that's what I, like I said, I think if I stuck with Google AdWords and Facebook, I think that's where I just need to stay focused, and I just shouldn't have done the other.
There's 1,900 searches a month for the chamois cream. I mean, so it's definitely a relatively high searched volume there, and the fact that you're coming up number 2 is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So that's that's good. What are you? All right. So going forward, so you got all these boxes and boxes of product. Maybe do some Facebook ads. You can still do Google ads. What else are you going to do to market? I'm just curious, Kim. I literally have no. I'm just wondering, what else are you going to do to market your product?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where we're going to stay with it. I need to be more active on Instagram. I think that would help a lot. It sounds stupid, but it all takes energy, right?
Yeah, no.
and with the day job, it's sometimes you're like, oh my God, I haven't posted to Instagram in a week. Crap.
No, that's 100% the problem. Is it takes energy, and when you're working a job, the energy is, you got to find it someplace, and it's tough. It's tough. I don't envy you in the least in that regard, for sure. That's tough.
Yeah, so that's where we're gonna kind of stick at. And if you'll notice on the website, so I started with just the chamois cream.
Yeah.
And then we decided, I was like, well, let me put other stuff out here. Let's add some other products so when somebody comes to the website. So so the bike art that you're on right there, that's actually my husband. My husband does that. So that's actually bike art that he has done as recycled. And we have sold a couple pieces of that. And then I've done a bunch of T-shirts. And I've been doing the T-shirts through drop shipping.
Okay.
So I don't have any of that stuff in stock. It's literally through a drop ship process that you create, put these on if somebody orders. Now, once again, having said that, I haven't sold any T-shirts. And I list those on Facebook quite a bit and stuff, but at least there's other things other than just the chamois cream. When somebody comes to the website, there is other products and everything else there other than the bicycle art, is all the T-shirts are through drop shipping.
So you don't have any inventory here, so it hasn't really cost you anything to display this. Is that right?
That is exactly right. That's how drop shipping works. So there's a lot of like a lot of the websites and stuff or ads that you get that come in on Facebook and stuff like that. And it's like, it'll be shoes or clothing, especially towards women. A lot of that's drop shipping, where you're ordering that product, but then you don't actually have anything. So when you order it, the company that's creating it gets probably and I don't know exactly. I think with T-shirts, there's like $14, and then you get the balance if somebody were to buy a T-shirt. And what we did is we bought a couple ourselves because I wanted to make sure the quality, because I didn't want to send out a bad quality T-shirt. And so now whenever I think up another T-shirt, because this is me once again sitting there going, oh, what would I like to see on a T-shirt? And then I'll go in and create the T-shirt, right? So once when I did that, I ordered a couple of T-shirts, made sure the quality was right, and then whenever I create another T-shirt, I always make sure I use that brand, because when you go into dropship, there's a ton of different brands that are available that you can make T-shirts with.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I had some companies do my own Heritage Wealth Planning T-shirts, and some are I don't like, and some I do. This is just for my own use. But that's harder to get the quality that you want than you'd think. It's weird, actually. I remember a couple of my T-shirts are way too big, and then a couple. Anyway, it's weird. It's weird how the
it
quality
is weird
because
all the different ones, the sizing, it can run different than what you
exactly
are hoping. Yep.
Man, so do you pick the company who drop ships it, or I mean, how do you choose that?
I'd have to go into Shopify. When you go into Shopify, there's a bunch of different T-shirt makers and stuff. I think I'm using Print. I think I'm using Printful. Is the one that I'm using. So when you add that app to your Shopify account, you can go into Printful, and they have T-shirts, they have socks, they've got pillows. I mean, they've got other things other than T-shirts. So I think I'm using Printful, and like I said, I found, one of the products. What I did is I went in my closet and pulled a T-shirt that I love, right, and looked at who the brand was, and then went, oh, they have this brand in this list. Oh. And that's kind of how I did that. But at the same time, I made sure I ordered one just to make sure that it is as nice as I wanted it to be. and they are. And then another funny side thing I've done with the chamois cream is, I've sent free jars to Lance Armstrong. So, I have reached out to other, what they call, I'm losing the word.
Influencers?
And thank you. Yes, I've reached out to other influencers on YouTube and offered to send them free jars, and most of them were like, "Yeah, sure, send me something over." Oh. So I did do that, especially in the beginning. I need to send Lance a couple more jars, just in hopes to getting any kind of response from them at all. And I've been sending it to Lance's bike shop in Austin because I don't obviously have his personal address.
Right.
But I address it to Lance Armstrong at Mellow Johnny's, right? So I'm sure the employees at Mellow Johnny's are getting a kick out of it.
Yeah. Well, I love some of this bike art too, by the way. I think it's actually pretty cool. I love the gears and the chains. I think as the reclaimed bike art, I think it's actually pretty cool. I'm not saying I don't like your T-shirts or anything, but I think it's pretty unique with the heart looking thing with the chains and the gear. You know what I'm saying, Cam? Like. Yeah. It looks like a heart there. I think that's actually real cool, man. That's definitely original for sure. I think I'm a big fan of that for sure. I think it's neat. Yeah. I'm not a biker by any stretch of imagination, but I just like unique ideas. I always think, going back to the T-shirts and stuff, I just always wonder. That's what I liked about your thing, because you have the T-shirts, you have the reclaimed bike art, but you also have the product. And I think back for me, it's like, T-shirts are fine, but they're like, everyone does that. It's just like, what are other products that you could get in people's hands that they'd be willing to pay for? I don't know. That's the thing. I just always think about what are other products that you could get into people's hands that they'd be willing to pay for, that you can make a profit on, and it's a win-win, value for value exchange. So I like what you're doing. I buy your product, and your product works for me, and you make money, and I'm happy. That's a value for value. And it's just, everyone does T-shirts. I'm thinking, I just can't think for my own business now. And, but it could be for you too. Like, there's got to be other products. And this is where I just thought the other things you're doing, I thought that was pretty cool. And I always think about that. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
And you probably thought about hats, because I do have a hat that I've added onto here.
Yeah, I saw that. Exactly.
Yeah, so I did a hat. And then, the other thing, we've thought about, the problem is unless I want to buy inventory. So what I'm trying not to do at this point is buy inventory. Yeah. So I'm trying to use drop ship products. So if I look under bike stuff for drop shipping products, and there's pumps out there and stuff, but a lot of that stuff is coming in from China. And it's not that great of quality. Oh. So one thing I like, especially out here, is there's so many hikers and horses. I always have a bell on my bike. So I was going to do bells. So I ordered a bell from one of the drop ship companies, and it was crap. So that's the thing with drop shipping for me. I don't, especially being a cyclist and knowing good cycling products versus bad cycling products. I do not want to sell something that is cheap.
No, exactly.
So
you'll never get that reputation. You'll never recover. Exactly.
Right. So that's where I agree with you, Josh. Sometimes it's hard just to like figure out what is that other thing, and where can I get it in a good enough quality with not having, a supply sitting in my house. So that's definitely something.
Yeah.
And then with the bike art, because it's handmade, we have an Etsy shop for that too. So we have that on Etsy and on here.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Etsy. Gotcha. Yeah. No, and folks, so if you're interested in Kim's stuff, for me personally, I love the bike. I think it's cool. If you're interested in, just a guy using his imagination to come up with some pretty cool ideas using, the bike material, I think it's cool. And by all means, I like the T-shirts and everything too. I always think about it. Kim, just let you know, when I lived in Phoenix back in the late '90s, I did a run of 4,000, I did a record label of heavy metal hardcore bands, and I had a bunch of bands all over the country on a compilation. I did a run of about 2,000 CDs, shrink wrap, the whole thing. That cost me about $5,000. That was back in 1997. And then I did another run of about 2,000 CDs, which cost me about $4,000, and I think that was in 1998. And similar to you, I had my inventory place was literally my third bedroom in the house we used to live up on Beardsley and 7th Street, and I never got rid of them because I didn't have the time. I mean, I got rid of a lot. I had a lot of distribution channels all over the world, but I mean, I had 4,000 CDs sitting in my room there, and my wife's like, "Dude, you ever gonna sell these?" And it's tough to do if you can't make a full-time go at it. It's tough because I mean, you have to be out there beating the bushes. And I would any kind of band that would come through Phoenix that was in my genre of music, I'd go outside and I'd, hand out flyers, hand out, demo tapes, the whole thing. And then it's tough. It's a full-time job in of itself for sure. And I always kind of look back in hindsight. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And I even talked to a distributor, and the problem with that, and the distributor handles this whole Western regional United States where it's bike shops, REIs, all that kind of stuff. But what he needs is a bunch of samples, and he needs 1,000 samples.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so when I reached back out to Pure Source, that's a whole nother order.
Yeah.
Right. so I'm like, which would be great because the guy's like, listen, I think this would do really well, but when I walk into a bike shop or I walk into an REI, I need to be able to hand out as many of these samples as there are people that want them.
Yep.
So I can't give him 100 samples because at one point I was thinking, well, I'll give him 100 jars and let him go, right? But he's like, no, I need a lot. And then I was like, when I reached out to Pure Source, well, it's a whole nother vat, right? So it's a whole nother order with them to do samples.
And then there's no guarantee that you'll ever make that back. You see what I'm saying? So you're like, here's another $5,000, guys, for another 1,800 samples. You're like, well, and that's the risk. You're like, you have just enough to be in the game, but not enough to really exploit that you're in the game, if that makes sense. You're like, how much money you want to throw? That's a tough place to be. No other way around that. And until you can literally just make it your all, it's tough. But with that said, I don't know if Tim Ferriss, I think it's Tony Robbins. I can't remember. But somebody said, you're a lot of entrepreneurs are overconfident in what they can do in a year, but they undervalue what can happen in 5. And I've always thought that for myself with my own YouTube channel and whatnot. I said, man, I didn't expect to be anywhere in a year. I just told myself, don't expect anything in a year. Expect in year 5 that will be the thing. The question is, can you sustain yourself that long? And but I mean, so for you, Kim, I mean, obviously it's going to take time without question. But I mean, you got more than just one thing, which is you got this various product. I don't know. And on top of it, I don't know if it's because Google Ads. When you type in chamois cream, the fact that you come up number 2 behind the premier one, chamois butter, is I think that's pretty neat. And again, I'm not sure exactly how you were able to do that, but I think that's favorable without question.
Well, that's funny, Josh, because I'm not sure either.
No, that's right? Good. I mean, you tell me Shaving Cream is 1,900 searches a month, and yet number 2 is coming up for you. And I'm telling you, I just think that's fantastic. Tell us a little bit, Kim, because I know we got a hard stop here a little bit, but just real quick about your YouTube channel, Project Ripcord. Would you please? I definitely want to take some time, 5 minutes or so, to just go over what you're doing here.
Yeah, so this is a little bit different than our chamois cream. So as I had mentioned, I've been working for corporate America for 32 years, and I'm kind of tired of it. So we are actually thinking about what I would like to do. I'm waiting till March to have the conversation with my company. Is I'd like to actually go part-time, 100% remote with them. I think they'll be open to it. Here's the hard part, Josh, is I actually run our Phoenix division. So I'm the head of the office here. I manage all the people, right?
Right.
So I have to go in and say, I would like to be demoted. I would like to go part-time. And I would like to go 100% remote. And I also need to be, if they say no, well, I really don't think they will, but if they say no, I have to be ready to walk away. Yeah. Right? So that's kind of what we're going through this year, and that's what Project Ripcord is, and the YouTube channel. It's like, okay, look, we just bought this 5th wheel. I bought some property in Silver City back in July last year, that 4 acres in Silver City. So the RVs kind of go to sit on that property until we decide what we want to do with that. But it's also, we like to travel for maybe a year before we settle into Silver City. And obviously that means selling the house here, getting rid of all of our stuff, downsizing, me going remote. So it's a lot of moving parts that we got going on here. So Project Ripcord is kind of following that journey and things that, we're going through. And we don't have time for it today, but like you said, Josh, I have a lot of side hustles. I've got Chapped Ass Chamois Lube. I've got a tiny house sitting on my property right here that I Airbnb out.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got an Etsy shop that I set up in 2014 where I make my own jewelry and sell on Etsy, and that's it actually doesn't do bad, but it's more to feed my soul.
Right.
It's a hobby, but I make money off of Etsy. So I've got a lot of little things going on, and all of this I think was in prep because if I do leave my job or I do go part-time, as you know, you got to go to something, right? So I have so many other interests that I could put my time to, and it's all things that I would like to do. So that is what Project Ripcord is. It's my journey of what I'm hopefully is getting out of corporate America this year.
I hope you keep posting because I'm telling you, Kim, I got just so many people that want to quit their crappy old job. And I hope your company isn't listening to this. We're not saying that's you. I'm just telling you, I got so many people, myself included, frankly. It's a challenge and it's a risk, and it's still a risk. Because people saying, look, I mean, it's just a risk, and I just hope you keep posting because. A, that's how you get the word out is posting. If you don't post, you're not going to get any word out on YouTube. And B, I think a lot of people find it very valuable in terms of, what did this lady go through? And then on top of that, a lot of the content that you have that you're doing, the various side hustles, I think will lead a lot of people to say, that's interesting because that could give them the kick in the pants like Tim Ferriss gave to you. And Tim Ferriss is just some dude, you know what I'm saying? He's not rocket science, he's just some dude, and he wrote a great book. I haven't read it yet. But now he's changed the lives of many, many people. It's awesome. And I just think real quick on your tiny home that we talked about it by email, how you're making some money off that. I think that's actually pretty interesting. And hopefully, I don't know. I just hope you keep posting on what's happened in your life as you kind of, just reinvigorate yourself, if that makes sense, because hell, we only got one life and we're still so damn young, pardon my French, that it would hate to die at your desk. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy on my YouTube channel who posts. Yeah.
I agree. I don't hate my job, right? But
right.
I honestly, what I hate about it is the corporate politics. If somebody would let me just sit at my desk right? If somebody just let me sit at my desk and do work on my spreadsheets and leave me alone, I'd be pretty good. But I've just gotten I hate the corporate talk, like everything is smoke screens, and especially being in management for as long as I have, it's like, well, raises are only going to be this year, but this is how you should say it to your employees. I'm right. I'm not good at any of that. I'm not good at blowing smoke. And so I really hate that part of it, but I don't mind the work.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be hard. I make a great salary. My brother thinks I'm absolutely lost my mind if I do this. But Josh, as you know, it's not, it's not what you make necessarily. It's what you keep, right?
Yeah. 100%. So what you spend. That's what it comes down to. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I know I could probably go be demoted and go part-time and downsize everything and have way more money than I do right now.
And have a sense of, I don't know, I'm not saying this for you. I just know at the end of the day, just a sense of just a new spring in your step. And that's what happened to me. And frankly, I say this, I'm sitting here, in my house and whatnot. That's great, but you still got to pay the bills. And I'm not where I need to be to pay the bills. And it's scary because I'm tapping my 401k every single month to pay the bills, and it's scary. But at the end of the day, I'll say, well, it didn't work. I'll go dig ditches. Or I don't know, Kim. But all right, so we're up against it. I want to make sure. So we got Project Ripcord is Kim's YouTube channel. Again, I'll put links to the show notes. We have Chapped Ass Cycling, and I'll put a link to her show notes there as well. Kim obviously makes highly. She likes that book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. Highly recommended. Do you still say that, Kim? Would you still recommend folks read that book?
I still recommend it. And then other books like that I've read in the last probably 6 months, I'm kind of looking at it. There's one called Side Hustle. And this is more like if you want to keep your job, but you want to get into something else.
Good.
So I have read Side Hustle. There's one that's a great fun read by the same author. His name is Chris Goularby. I know I'm killing that. But he has one called The Art of Nonconformity. There's a cyclist book, a woman who had a really good corporate job and she threw it away to try to become a professional cyclist, and that's called The Wrong Side of Comfortable.
Oh.
So there's been a lot of really interesting books that I've read in the last 6 months too. But the Tim Ferriss book obviously was what catapulted me. And like I said, these are really fun reads, and kind of a lot of them will give you what stories of what other people have done. So that's cool. But the Tim Ferriss book, like I said, is more of a reference material. He's got a lot of good information in there.
And just anyone who wants to order, if you order something from Kim's site, she actually will ship it to you, other than her T-shirt, but she'll ship you the Chapped Ass, the cream, literally from her house. So it's not done in China. It's done right here in the good U.S. of A. Done by Kim herself, the proprietor. And so if you're interested in that product, look it up. And again, I'll put a link to the show notes. Hey, Kim, don't hang up yet, 'cause I'll unrecord here in just a second. But it's been great, and I'll put all these links to the show notes, and I really appreciate you being here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.